right here. What an awesome pass through the slot, onto the stick of Batherson. Kachuk in tight up, let's get got him and scores! Brady Kachuk wins it in overtime for Ottawa.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Plant. Welcome to Sens Talk. We are joined here with a friend of the show, Angus Crookshank. Angus, welcome back, brother. How are you doing?
I'm good, Brandon. I had a nice, successful day at the rink, which always put you in a good mood. But excited to chat with you.
Yeah, before we begun this interview, we were talking a little bit about, during the Sens games this season, there has been a lot of fans in the crowd. So TSN has been trying to get creative with who they pan to in the crowd because there's not really many people there. But unfortunately, there's been a lot of people in a press box for injured players for the Ottawa Senators because Ottawa, not so long ago, I think less than a month ago, had like 7 players like on the injured reserve. It was insane. So it was like you, other friend of the show, Scott Sabrin, Josh Norris, Drake Batherson, Watson at a point, Colin White. I mean, the box was filled to the brim. And a lot of people on Twitter are always mentioning that you, Angus, always look a little upset, a little agitated in the the press box. Now you mentioned to me before this interview begun that that's not the case. Let's here's the floor to you. Explain to the fans what's going on with that.
Yeah, I'm glad I have my opportunity to kind of explain myself. But I swear, I mean, obviously, I'd love to be out on the ice and that sort of stuff. But that's a given. But honestly, like that's not me being depressed or upset or angry. It's something that's just like, I mean, if you ask anyone that's been on the ice with me, that's just my resting, like dialed in, like focused face. I have been called a robot at times by former teammates, kind of with my facial expressions. But I'm the only time where I'll get a little animated is if, I'll score a goal or something like that. Then I'll kind of break character.
That surprises me a bit, though, because, you on the ice and on Instagram, we've spoken about this, you're definitely not a quiet guy when it comes to the chirp. So, I mean, that's a little surprising to us. But I'm glad you aired that out and let us know what's up with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously I'm vocal on the ice, but I don't really, my gaze and my face doesn't exactly change while I'm chirping you, I guess.
I also wanted to discuss, obviously, like I said, there was like at a point 7 players in that press box. That's insane. But obviously you're hanging out during a hockey game. You guys have grown around hockey throughout your entire life. You guys obviously all love hockey. So is hockey the only thing you guys are talking about there? Like, what's the conversation like in that press box? I mean, 7 guys, you can have a bunch of different conversations because that's a lot of different humans there.
Yeah, I mean, when the game's on, we're all equally dialed into the game, like commenting on the game, like kind of talking about and bouncing off each other what we see and what we think and that sort of stuff. But during the intermissions and that sort of stuff, I mean, the group, as a young guy, I was pretty fortunate to be around some pretty good players. I mean, Batherson, Norris, Colin White, Pinner, guys like that. So kind of bounce off ideas with them, see what they think, kind of pick their brain a bit. It allowed me to learn a whole lot. But I mean, also you kind of get to know the guys on like a personal level too, which is kind of cool. Like we talked about like for the guys who went to major junior days, and then for talking to like Norris and obviously Pinner and I both graduated the same year to play pro. Kind of talking like different stories from school and just kind of shooting it a little bit, which is always kind of cool, especially for me being a young guy, kind of getting to know these guys on more than a professional hockey basis, which I thought was kind of cool.
Whenever I have a Sens prospect or player on the show, I always ask them about Colin White. Now, you just mentioned his name in that press box. I've never had the pleasure to speak to Colin White personally, but I've heard a lot of stories with the guy. He's clearly the glue guy in that locker room. What do you think about Whitey?
Whitey is, I can't. I love Whitey. He's been, to be honest with you, he's been there more than anyone during this whole rehab process. I mean, not just based off of timing, because obviously he had a shoulder thing around the same time I had my knee, but just kind of being able to talk to him about the stuff that I'm going through. The guy, he was kind of him and Pinner were the guys that I probably opened up to the most when I'll be honest with you, wouldn't say I was doing great mentally while I was for a long time there. So kind of being able to talk to them and them to be there for me. And obviously they don't have to be. At the end of the day, I'm not on the roster. I'm a prospect in the system for sure, but I'm just there for treatment and I'm not a part of the team. I haven't played in the NHL games. So there's no kind of credibility to my name in that sense. But for them to kind of open up themselves to me and talk to me about stuff they're going through and vice versa, it meant the world to me. And I think they can agree as well. But we're real close. We still text to this day, like still chat back and forth, chirp each other, that sort of stuff. So I know I got nothing but great things to say about Whitey.
I mean, that's obviously when I asked that question, I was not expecting that type of answer, but I think that's, that says a lot about the locker room. And I'm happy, that you had people to speak to, obviously going through such a trying injury after sort of breaking out through college into like the NHL and AHL scene where you scored that first pro goal, like in your first game or whatever. So, I mean, it's a tough break, but, it's great to see that the Sens have guys in the locker room that are just like that, like you said, you're not even on the team technically, right? So I mean, it's nice to see that they were there for you, and that shows like the camaraderie in the locker room. And I think a lot of people, not maybe even myself sometimes, like honestly, it's good to have self-awareness. People forget that the athletes and these players on these teams are humans, and they have emotions and they have thoughts and other types of things. So I mean, thank you for opening up there, of course, to the fans and of course myself. But I mean, obviously, hope you're doing better now, of course.
No, totally, yeah. I mean, to your point that you just said, I mean, like as players, like we understand that. I mean, we're in very fortunate situations where we're able to play a game that we love and be fortunate enough to play for it. But obviously, expectations come with that, and we all know that. And we hold ourselves to that standard. But I mean, it's unrealistic to expect a guy to show up and play lights out night in, night out. So, I mean, obviously, I'm sure. I mean, I haven't fully experienced it because I haven't really played that much pro. But I'm sure for other guys having that kind of layer of people kind of pressing on you, saying stuff about you, it can weigh on you. So I think I understand like that's all part of the media and that sort of stuff. And you got to kind of,
unfortunately, yeah,
that's your guys' job, same as ours is going on the ice. But I think not just media, but I think people in general can be a little. I mean, to your point, like a little more self-aware. I think it'd go a long way and make players. It'll keep players happier, and I think it'll keep just the environment, the fan base, in a better, less toxic environment. And that's kind of across any Canadian fan base. To be honest with you, I grew up watching the Canucks, and Vancouver is as hostile as it gets.
I mean, 2011, yeah. I mean,
trust me, like I've been around it, so I can't speak to it personally, but I mean, I can kind of see it being around the room. It can weigh on guys for sure.
For sure. And you don't need to go into names, of course. You don't need to go into names, but obviously, when I'm not like a famous person, but I have a bit of a following on Twitter. So because of that, sometimes, especially when you're like in such a niche, like an Ottawa Senators blog, you're going to get like parents following you, uncles, aunts following you. So that's even for people with 100 followers, 1,000 followers, it doesn't matter. I think you need to be aware that if it's not the player seeing it, it's their family seeing it. No matter what you put out there, if you put Connor Brown's name, Angus Crookshank's name, whatever, somebody's going to look it up in that family on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and they're going to see that post. I guarantee you they will see that post. So yeah, I mean, when I first started getting followed by certain family members of certain players on the team, I mean, that was like a real awakening for me to be more careful with what I put out there, And I think, I hope people watching this might take something from this, learn from this, and maybe use that whenever they're tweeting again. Because I mean, listen, criticism, it's so important. I mean, criticism is very fair.
And that's not what I'm saying either.
I know. My point is criticism is fine, but then you see what happened like Comtois in the World Juniors. That's not criticism. That's just like online abuse. So, I mean, it's okay to be critical, but to call out somebody for their appearance or just be downright disgusting about how they play. I mean, listen, it's wrong, obviously. And of course, like I said at the beginning of this, you guys are humans and people forget that,
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're pretty self-aware. So like, obviously, like I said, like your guys' job is to create content, and part of that content, if a guy plays bad, you got to say he plays bad. We're old enough. We can put on our big boy pants and we can, we'll wear that. So it's, but yeah, when it kind of crosses that line there, then it's when guys kind of get a little, I'd say personally offended, I guess.
No, for sure. And I think that's a great message. And if anyone's watching this, just once again, I think everyone's kind of been taught this growing up. Think before you speak. Maybe now think before you tweet. Right?
Exactly.
Clip that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be the title.
Say it again. Sorry.
That'll be the title of this. Think before you tweet.
God, hey, maybe we'll have to bring you onto the Sens Talk team for some content role. I mean, that's a good title right there. Let's move it on to something a little more positive. Obviously, you dealt with a big injury, but throughout that process, you can call it, you were living in Ottawa. You mentioned to me before that you were living with a member of the Sens organization, one of their trainers. So what was that like? What was that experience like? What was it like to at least stay in Ottawa for a bit, get some reps in your development and of course in your rehab? Just talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was, I was pretty fortunate. I mean, I didn't really know what the plan was for me kind of post surgery. I didn't know if I was going to be in the Brook Street Hotel for a while or what kind of the plan was, but yeah, the head athletic trainer, Jerry Townend, kind of offered me to move in with him and his wife. They have 2 daughters, but both of them are off at school right now. So they had a couple free rooms and they offered to kind of take me in, which was, I still can't, I don't really have the words to kind of,
that's incredible
for how much it meant to me. And being able to kind of talk with Jerry, he's been with the team, I want to say, since the early 2000s. So he's been around, he's seen kind of the highs and lows of the team and certain guys for sure. He's close with Daniel Alfredson, and kind of hearing some of the stories that he has about Daniel Alfredson, it's like, wow. And for sure, growing up in Canada, you kind of hear about these guys, like all the kind of stars on the Canadian teams, but you're kind of so focused on your hometown team. But seeing kind of the influence and how much he meant to the organization, the city, it's pretty cool. But also, yeah, like you said, doing my rehab in Ottawa was amazing. I wouldn't have wanted to do it anywhere else. And that's not against if I went back home and did it, or if it went down to Belleville. It also wasn't my call. So, if for them to kind of want me to be there in Ottawa was kind of cool, and be around the guys was pretty cool. I learned a ton, kind of what it takes day to day, what it takes to be a pro, what it takes, how to maintain your body. Obviously I was doing different stuff than the team, but you kind of pick things up just by association and watching and seeing that sort of stuff, and kind of how crisp, things like how crisp practices, everything is just so dialed in. The attention to detail is off the charts. But yeah, no, it was really, really cool. And obviously getting to know some of the guys like Shabbat, Brady, and that sort of stuff was pretty cool. And hopefully I can play with those guys down the road.
Talk to us a little bit more about that, because you already mentioned about Colin White and Shane Pinto. And once again, I think what you just revealed to us really tells a lot about, obviously in the locker room, you need guys that are lighthearted and the glue guy like Colin White, of course. But it's also great to see that Colin White's more than just a glue guy. He's a guy that you can talk to, and he cares. He cares about his friends. He cares about his teammates. So I think that's it. We all know that everyone in this locker room is kind of vibing. We see these post game videos with the bike helmet and stuff. So it's really great to see how caring everyone is in this locker room. But talk to us about getting to meet and start the chat really with Shabbat and of course Captain Tkachuk.
Yeah, obviously I probably didn't say a word for the first kind of couple of weeks, to be honest with you. It was kind of, I felt like it was one of those things where don't speak unless spoken to. Just kind of, that's just how I'm wired. I'm very kind of conscious of where my surroundings and that sort of stuff. But yeah, after a while, the guys always ask how I'm doing, how surgery went, and that sort of stuff, which obviously, like I was just talking to you about, I'm not on the team. I didn't make the team. I haven't played any pro games. I don't know these guys. So it'd be pretty easy for them to just kind of walk by me, not really give me the time of day, and just kind of go on with their days, which even if they did, fuck, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I'm not a part of their team or part of their day really, but for them to kind of go out of their way and check in, see how I'm doing, how am I doing physically, ask the trainers about me, how it looks and that sort of stuff. it meant the world to me. And I mean, these are coming from guys that are NHL All-Stars and have put up great numbers in the league. So for that to kind of happen was pretty cool. And also just seeing like the tendencies and like what blows me away with, I mean, obviously with how much Shabby plays.
It's insane,
like how
man. It's insane, like 30 minutes. It's insane.
I don't know. It's incredible. I don't think any other player in the league right now would be able to do it.
No, I honestly don't think so.
He's one of one. It's pretty remarkable in that sense. And how hard Brady plays. Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, you don't really realize it until you fully, like, we call it ISO cam, where you ISO cam a guy. But you just watch his intensity shift after shift after shift. And he's blowing guys up every shift. And blowing a guy up, it's hard on your body. It's not exactly easy to do, even if you're a big guy, let alone me at 5'10" change.
Especially in a practice after like a long game.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, kind of seeing how intense he is. Well, really intense, how intense all guys are. And another guy that I kind of loved watching was Connor Brown. And kind of his
vision. He's insane.
His vision, but I think what people don't see enough from him is his ability to strip pucks from players. His stick is absolutely elite. I have never seen a player like it. I've never seen a player be more efficient back checking, stripping guys from the puck. Anybody whoever listens to this, like, just watch the next Sens game. Watch how many times he strips a puck, or he's pressuring a guy and forces a bad play. Like, I'd say he's one of the best in the league. I mean, I was fortunate enough to watch a lot of NHL hockey live, and I'd say he's one of the best in the league at it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think that's why he's so effective on that penalty kill. He has a strong 100%. Stick on that blue line. You know what I mean? He kind of like Mark Stone. I'm not comparing the two, but I mean, Mark Stone, he's a pickpocket master too. So, I mean, Connor Brown, there's a reason players are good in certain aspects of the game. Connor Brown has great vision. Like I said multiple times already, but like you said, a strong stick. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Is there any other player? I wasn't really expecting to talk about practice that much, but I mean, to be fair, you were there for a lot. So was there any other player during practice, goaltender, defenseman, whatever, that, kind of like got your attention? Like, of course, college, it's high level hockey. I've never played hockey close to NCAA, nor will I ever. But at the same time, I mean, NCAA, and then you go to the National Hockey League. I mean, that's the best of the best. So obviously, was there anyone else that like really caught your eye?
Yeah, Branny, big time for his just sheer.
Sens fans are gonna love that you said that. Love it.
His I don't know, his just skating ability. Obviously he's fast in a straight line, but how smooth he is on his edges, how he can just transition so effortlessly. It makes it. I mean, as a forward, it makes it a nightmare because you can't really. If you get a step on him, he just kind of opens up and smoothly goes and gets to stick back on your puck. Another guy I don't think who gets appreciated enough is Holdy. I think he's just
safety first.
It's simple plays, and I mean, at the end of the day, you need guys like that on a team to be successful. And I mean, he's been around for a long time, so he kind of knows the ins and outs and that sort of stuff. But he's just so simple. You know exactly what you're going to get night in, night out. And obviously it's a younger decor, so having guys like that obviously helps. I'm just trying to think on the front end. I mean, obviously the obvious guys are like Norris, Batherson, Brady, Timmy.
All good.
But the one that kind of stands out to me is Paulie. Paulie and Brownie together are so good because they play off each other unbelievably.
Yeah.
But Paulie's just so strong, and he's an unbelievable skater for his size. I mean, there's a reason why he wins the skate test year after year. Like his
skills,
he flies up and down the ice while being incredibly physical, has skill to his game, and makes simple plays and can think the game. Like, why? Like, any team in the NHL would want a guy like that on their team.
Exactly. That's exactly what you want on the third line. So, I mean, I'm not expecting you to comment on this, but I mean, I really do hope Ottawa extends the guy, and hopefully it happens. But I mean, we're close to the deadline, so we'll see. But I mean, that chemistry with him and Connor Brown, I mean, that's some elite stuff. We saw it with Team Canada like a year ago or so at the World Championship. So I mean, yeah, especially for a third line. You said Connor Brown has a strong stick. Nick Paul has good vision. Nick Paul, good skater. I mean, that's all you can ask for on a third line that's going to be checking and hopefully putting in some goals too.
100%.
Now, Is there anyone else before we move on? Because this is really interesting for me because I'm a fan. I go to games, I watch the games, but I'm not at the practice. I'm not in the locker room. So Sens fans like myself just love hearing this type of stuff. So go ahead if there's anything else or any players you wanted to shout out to, because listen, once again, this is really cool stuff. You don't really hear players open up a lot about the practice and stuff like that because honestly, not a lot of people ask about it. So it's really interesting.
I think Sandy has a lot of undercover skill.
Yeah,
a lot of undercover skill, which I think he should. I personally see it every night in, night out, and how he kind of shows. I know some people are kind of mixed on the guy, but I honestly think he's a great ad for the team. Stanley Cup champion, plays the right way. Like he does all the right things, in my opinion. So I think he's a really good guy. And also Matt Murray. I think I have a lot of respect for the guy because obviously at the start of the year he had kind of the stuff with the injuries, and obviously was getting kind of a bit of a beating in the media. So for him to kind of bounce back the way he did, he's been obviously a tough night in Arizona, but that's those happen. But if you look at the numbers leading up to that, he's been lights out, in my opinion. So, and he's just a great guy as well. Kind of similar to Whitey too, kind of took the time to kind of get to know me, where I'm from, my kind of story, that sort of stuff, which I thought was pretty cool.
So once again, it's great to hear that from the locker room. It's clear to me, winning or losing, culture is so important for a locker room. It makes or breaks locker rooms, and clearly there's a good culture in that room. So once again, I'm glad that there's a lot of players there to help support you, obviously during a tough time. But more importantly, it's good to see that during your time there, you learned some things and you got to experience some really cool things. Your style of play, it is similar to Sanford. It's similar to a Brady Tkachuk. It's, you're a pesky type of player. You got great skill, and that's not saying you don't got hands or anything. Look up, if you're watching this, go to Crookshank's highlights from his time at UNH. The guy's got hands, so do not worry about that. But did you ever get to speak to Tkachuk, especially about how you can maintain such a physical form in the National Hockey League, or any advice, stuff like that?
I think I kind of picked his brain a little bit on kind of body maintenance and that sort of stuff. And the biggest thing is just getting a routine, and then just sticking by it. Obviously try to find a routine. Okay, this makes my body feel good before I go on the ice. And kind of stick to that. And then obviously whatever you need on top of that, obviously bumps, bruises happen during the year. I didn't realize how some of the things that guys kind of deal with while they're playing. It was a bit of an eye opener to me, but obviously, 82 games is a lot of hockey. And obviously with kind of everything that went on during Christmas time, and everything was kind of condensed there for a little while, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's, being able to kind of create routines for situations just like that makes life so much, there's a lot less stress off your shoulders. Okay, I got to do this time, this time. Not to be superstitious, but it just kind of gives you a little bit. It gives you a little bit of order in your life. And I'm a guy that likes not necessarily regimented, but I like to kind of do similar things because I know it works for me.
Are you superstitious at all?
I am superstitious, yes.
Now, what's your go-to then? The game day routine, and what are your superstitions?
Honestly, nothing too crazy.
That's what they all say. Let's hear it.
So my biggest one is I always put on my right side before my left side. So right shin pad, left shin pad, right elbow pad, left elbow pad. When during warm-ups, I always have to bat the puck up twice, grab it out of the air, and throw it into the stands for a fan.
That's awesome.
And I'm trying to think of one more. And when I go on the ice, my first lap, I got to take one little crossover over the red line.
Every time.
Okay,
you know what? That wasn't that bad. I've heard much worse. So
there's definitely some crazier ones for sure. But just kind of, I don't know. I don't really remember when it started, but it just kind of started. So I don't know, just stuck to him ever since.
Yeah, fair enough. Listen, if things are working, don't knock what works, right? Just keep on
No,
doing what you got to do to keep it going?
obviously there's a line for sure.
I mean, you
But,
hear of some people wearing like the same socks, same other stuff for like until they lose a game or whatever. Like there's some crazy stuff like that. So, I mean,
Well, I had a pair of
we're
elbow
on
pads.
hygiene though, you know.
Sorry, I'll add one. I had a pair of elbow pads that I think I had for 7 years, but it wasn't even so much a superstitious thing. It was just like
Comfort.
they were so insanely comfortable.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, the trainers this year, they're like, okay, like time to give it up. Like it's they're done. They're like,
it's a different level.
They're all mangled. They're like, there's Velcro holding them together and tape. It's just like, I looked at them like, all right, if there was a time, I guess it would be now to switch them up. So
time to hang it to the rafters. That's for sure. They've served their purpose.
Not trying to throw them in the trash.
You know, you mentioned on Twitter or on Instagram, via a story on Instagram like a month ago that you're back on the ice. So where are you right now in your recovery from your ACL tear? We all know we don't need to go through the gruesome details. You got hit in the boards, a weird play. You know, it happens. That's hockey. But now you're almost back. So where are you at in the recovery? What's the timetable? Just walk us through that.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, like you said, it was just like such a fluke thing. But where I'm at right now, obviously, I'm pretty much skating as if I am playing.
Okay, great.
Like I'm doing stuff with the assistant coach down here, like Ben Sexton, a lot of like cutbacks, shooting, a lot of skating, as if like nothing's really. And the refreshing thing for me is just, it's as if nothing really kind of happened. Obviously, I was rusty. I haven't skated in 4 months, and that's
like riding a bike, though, right? You know, you'll eventually get it back again, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. The rust is slowly starting to kind of shake off. It's probably going to take a couple weeks. I mean, that's just to be expected. But yeah, I mean, my only kind of limitations right now are obviously contact, stopping and starting. Not so much like the stopping part of it, because I mean, I'm able to stop on both legs without any sort of issues. It's more the starts when you kind of get up on your toes there and you explode forward. They're a little cautious with that. And then obviously just like making reads and like being able to react like by a split second. And those will kind of come with, I mean, I'm going up to Ottawa this week now. I think, what day is it today? It's the 7th. I'm going up on Wednesday to go and kind of get more testing done and see how we can kind of increase, I guess. But right now my goal is to be able to be available, whether I play or not. That's above my pay grade. That's management's call. I mean, they're the ones that kind of control my destiny at the end of the day. But I'm just wanting to be available at the start of April to play for Belleville.
Less than a month away, baby. Let's hope that hopefully you're even back earlier. But hey, you'll get some games in at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope so. If I don't, it's not really my call. That's not putting anything on management at all. So please don't take it that way. That's,
of course,
at the end of the day, I'm looking at it from a kind of selfish point of view. Like realistically, probably not long term. But I mean, I just want to play hockey so damn bad.
Yeah, I mean,
and obviously, from their perspective, they're like, okay, like this is his first year of his entry level deal. Last thing we want is a meaningless game in Belleville for some idiot to do something. So they're looking out, I think, more long term. But who knows? I'm hoping they'll let me play. And I mean, at the end of the day, as I test in Ottawa, if I get good numbers and results testing, there's no other kind of better evidence than that.
Well, you let us know, Angus, for sure. We're definitely hoping that you get some good results. But, you know, here's a testament. Let's see. When are you expected to be able to take contact again? Because that should definitely give you a good timeline on when you should be able to return. Because once you're able to take contact, it could take up to a week. It could take maybe 2 weeks. But, I mean, you're going to be close once you're taking contact.
Once I'm taking contact, I hope it takes a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, but you with Colin White, for example, we saw him like take over a week, right? So
for sure, and
it depends.
Yeah, no, it depends on your injury for sure. I mean, I want to be taking contact either at like the very end of March or the first kind of few days of April. Obviously, depending on how my progression is going, but right now that's kind of where I see myself. And then from there, that's all I can ask for, is just to be able to fully practice with the team in Belleville and make myself available. That's all you have to. I mean, any pro, just at the end of the day, just make yourself available to play.
Now, you mentioned that obviously we spoke with this a couple of times. You were up in Ottawa, but recently you were just sent down because, they went on a road trip. So have you been able to link up with some of your old pals down there in Belleville, or Bell Vegas, as I should call it?
Yeah, no, it's good to be around like guys like Shazi, Casty, Rhino, Tomer, Roby, all those guys, just to kind of, I mean, it's nothing against the guys in Ottawa because they maybe feel incredibly welcome and that sort of stuff. But I mean, I know these guys. I've played with these guys. I can be a little bit more like myself, like kind of stirring it up a little bit, chirping guys, just in like, just being me, which is refreshing in a sense. I mean, not that I wasn't me in Ottawa, but there's times where it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're, and I sorry to cut you off, by the way, but it's kind of like when you're the new kid in class. You're just testing the waters. You're the new guy there. You don't want to ruffle any feathers. You just kind of want to be like, just neutral. You know what I mean? But of course, say it again, sorry.
Couldn't put it better myself. Like that's spot on.
Exactly. So hey, I guess I'll take a gold medal for that. But we'll move on now because we mentioned, you mentioned before anyways, that you were living down there with the Sens trainer, Schwartz, you said, right?
No, Jerry Townend.
Townend, my bad. My apologies for that. Shout out to Townend. But, have you been able to go down to the City Core of Ottawa? You've been here for a bit of time, and we've been speaking obviously back and forth for the last little bit. You mentioned earlier in this interview too that COVID, you weren't really able to do stuff. You were stuck in the Brook Street in Canada, but things are opening up now. There's really no restrictions. So have you been able to kind of experience the true Ottawa experience?
Yeah, I was kind of able to before I left to come down to Belleville. I mean, that was kind of when the truckers were starting to head out. So everything kind of started to open back up again, which was nice. I got to go down and see Byward Market, some cool old restaurants there that I went to dinner at. The Rideau Center is obviously a pretty damn good mall. So, I mean, but I mean, obviously I kind of did Parliament and all that sort of stuff when I came here in the summer. But one area I love is also the Glebe. A lot of really cool.
I don't know why I knew you were going to say the Glebe. Everyone says that when they're new to Ottawa. The Glebe.
It's sweet. There's a bunch of real cool one-off stores, great little restaurants. That's kind of what I'd say. That's my favorite place for sure. It's just kind of walking down the Glebe.
I mean, I'm not hating on the Glebe. I knew you were going to say that because it has a good mix of nice, quiet neighborhoods in the downtown core, mixed in with these nice little shops on a main street. They have a few of those streets. You know what I mean? So it's got that nice mix of you're a 5-minute walk from downtown, 5 minutes from Lansdowne, with the C67s, Red Blacks, whatever. But you're also in a comfortable, quiet area. And you got everything around you. So the Glebe is really awesome.
Lansdowne's cool too.
Lansdowne's awesome. Have you been able to take in a Red Blacks game?
No, I wasn't.
You gotta.
Yeah, no, I hear that's a good time. But I did go down there for the Christmas market though.
Oh, yeah, my girlfriend actually went there. It was busy. I mean, there's a lot of people down there in such a tight space.
But all the kind of good restaurants. There's good restaurants down there. I mean, Joey's is always a staple. Local's good spot. Movie theater there too. I didn't realize, but we went to a movie. A couple of us went and saw Spider-Man one day. Didn't realize you couldn't get movie theater snacks at the movie theater.
Oh, yep. They did that with the Sens too. You were able to go to the game, but you couldn't have a beer. It felt really weird.
That's part of the experience. I was like, are you kidding me? I get to sit here, watch this movie without a bag full of popcorn.
It's brutal. That's almost like torture, to be honest with you.
It was. And halfway through the movie, it was like, my hands are supposed to be greasy from the popcorn right now. Why are they clean? But it was nice kind of being able to explore a little bit for sure.
I mean, the worst part about that is, and I'm not encouraging this at all. I'm not the one to break the law, but at the same time, I mean, the prices in Cineplex are egregious. So, I mean, when you sneak in your Snickers bar or whatever, everyone else is eating stuff. So no one's going to call you out for it. Now you can't because no one is eating. So you can't even sneak anything in. That's unfortunate. I
mean, I would have done that if I knew there was no.
Yeah. I mean, you would have to maybe the jacket up to sneak a bite or two in once in a while.
I'd look like I gained an extra 30 pounds, but
hey,
you're not there.
No one's going to judge. You've been out for a bit. Last thing before we let you go, because we've been talking for almost 45 minutes, and I've been hearing rings, I've been hearing alarms. You're a busy guy, so I don't want to keep you for too long. But like we've already spoken about this. Your recovery is almost done. Your process is almost at the completion. You got about 3 weeks left, hopefully. Have you spoken to DJ Smith, Pierre Dorion, head coach Mann down there in Belleville? Have you spoken to anyone about the expectations of, once you come back, will you get a shot in the NHL? Are you going to be there in Belleville to just wrap up the season? What's kind of like the plan, or more so, have you gotten an opportunity to speak to management and coaching about the plan?
I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, realistic. I mean, obviously, in a ideal world, I'd be able to play my first NHL game. But I mean, I'm going to be completely realistic. It's not going to happen.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. But at the end of the day, I mean, I haven't played in 4 or 5 months here.
True.
So I have to kind of get back up to speed. And I mean, even if I join Belleville at the end of the year, even if that's playing bottom 6 minutes, hey, I get to play hockey. And at the end of the day, that allows me to have a full summer. I think I'm confident enough within myself and kind of what I've shown management and coaching staff in Ottawa, but also in Belleville, like who I am as a player. And they kind of know what to expect from me on a night in, night out basis and kind of what my game is. So I think all I can kind of do is rest my hat on my laurels and know that they know who I am as a player, and they're going to act in my best interest for what I need to. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, hope to play a long career with the Senators. So, yeah, I mean, to me, I just take it step by step. I just want to play a hockey game. That's the only way I look at it.
Well, that's a great way to leave it off. Hopefully, you're an Ottawa Senator for a very, very long time, Angus. Once again, second time on the show. It's great to have you back on. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. It always ends up being a long conversation, but full of great information and stories. And I mean, listen, once again, we learned a lot about the locker room today, about how tight-knit it is, even if you're not technically on paper part of the team. I think that's really cool. I didn't listen. Once again, I'm a fan. I'm not in that locker room. So that's really, really cool to hear. And more importantly, we got to hear about your development and how your rehab is going and how you're hopefully going to be back within the next month or so. So Angus, once again, thank you so much for joining. And hopefully we'll see you back on the ice very, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Brandon. As always, I appreciate it.
Take care, brother.